Hey everybody, it's Ed Dale here and welcome. I am pretty darn super excited about presenting all of this to you guys because I have with me today Trey Smith. You there, Trey?
Yeah, hey, how's it going, everyone?
It's a miracle of modern technology. And we're going to show to you we are going to, what I'm very excited about you, just by way of background, every January, I spend the entire month in the US. And part of the reason for that is that, given that most of my client base is obviously in the United States, and also it's very interesting for me to see what is going on in terms of, internet. It's a completely different thing when you're out and about, you're in the malls, you're, seeing how. Forget what the digerati are saying. Forget what the internet marketing gurus are saying. What is Joe and Jane Smith doing online? What are they using? And of course, we've obviously talked about Facebook. That does not need any introduction. What I think does need a massive introduction and has been really off the radar for some very legitimate reasons, certainly not your fault, is the whole apps. Let me give you some stats here. Apple, and this is what you've got to realize. You've got to realize 10 billion apps have been downloaded. 10 billion apps. That's more than the Cokes being sold. Okay, let's put that in context. More apps than cans of Coke are being sold as we speak around the globe. It's phenomenal. These numbers have never been seen by anything ever in existence. The iPad sold 14.8 million iPads in 8 months. 8 months. Again, to put that into context, no consumer device in history. We're talking the TV, we're talking the microwave, we're talking the DVD, we're talking the Xbox, we're talking the PlayStation. Anything that you can imagine, any consumer electronic device, nothing has even come close to that. But stop. Before you think this is just going to be an Apple fanboy thing, the biggest thing I noticed when I was in the United States were two things. First, smartphone adoption, in other words, the iPhones or the Androids and so on, is just starting out. In Australia, just to give you an idea, 5% of all internet traffic, let me repeat that, 5% of all internet traffic is from an iPhone or an iPad in Australia. Same in the United Kingdom. 48% of new phones sold in Australia are an iPhone. If you're in Australia, you can't move for iPhones. It is the dominant market. Now, this is very crucial for you guys to understand this crucial thing, because when I got to the United States in January, it's not like that at all. Because up until last night, and it's a very historic day for iPhone history today, up until last night, you could only get the iPhone through one carrier, AT&T. And there are many other carriers, one massive carrier called Verizon, who couldn't carry the iPhone. And so they have spent millions and millions promoting Android along with Google, the Android phone system. And let me tell you, the Android system, in terms of overall worldwide usage, has actually passed the iPhone. Right? So this is not about Apple, this is not about iPhone, this is not about Android. This is about the way we use the internet. And what Trey and I want to take you through today is, again, I just ask all of you, and by the way, this is we had almost the record number of sign-ups for this particular webinar. I ask you just to think for a second, how do you access the internet, inverted commas, the internet these days? Do you spend more time surfing on your mobile than you do your computer? And I'm tipping the answer is a big fat yes. So if we follow the Gary Halbert maximum, which is go where the hungry crowd is, go where the starving crowd, mobile, apps, and software has to be part of your mix. But there has been a huge problem with that because, hey, creating an app, that's you need to be a coder. You need to be a designer. You need to be, it's expensive. Trying to find somebody to code something that costs a fortune. I have no skills when it comes to coding. I barely manage to operate my device, let alone code an application for it. It's too hard, right? Well, as you'll see by the end of the day, the answer to that is also wrong. It's actually, I think it's a massive disadvantage if you are a coder in this marketplace. You need to be a marketer first. You need to be able to know what you want to design. But with that, before I go, I wanted to set the scene. I think this is, to me, a massive, massive opportunity. We're at the beginning, 10 billion apps since July of 2008. This whole thing didn't exist on the apps on mobile before 2008. Well, it did exist, I know, technically for you wonks out there, but not in any mass adoption. So, Trey, with that background, why don't you fill in everybody about what you've been doing, and because you got onto this software thing way early, and by way of introduction, give us a bit of your background and sort of how you went along this path of getting involved in this stuff.
For sure, man. That was that was some interesting stuff. I didn't know. Real quick, just on what you were saying, like the Australian market, 48%. That's insane, dude. I didn't know that. So that's because all carriers can sell the iPhone, or more carriers than just one.
There's two reasons very quickly. First one is that every carrier has it. So it's completely open market. And the second reason is you can literally walk in, sign a contract, and get it for $0 down. So you don't you pay nothing for it. So it's that you pay nothing for it, and our mobile networks are superb. As much as I hate to say it, I hate giving Telstra a plug, but our mobile networks are just amazing.
That's cool, man. And you know what? I think you're totally right. It's funny. I watched, I'm late to the game on this, but I watched The Social Network last night with my wife. Great movie. And and when it ended, she looked at me and she was like, "Why don't you do something like that?" I was like, "Well, damn it, I'm trying." But when she said that, I said, "Well, the truth is, I think the, that market's kind of gone." And I told her, I said, "But what do you see me trying to do right now?" And Ed, I don't even know if I've told you this, man. We're making an iPhone game every single month after I saw how easy and quick I could make this one. I came up with the idea 2 months before it was in the marketplace, like in the App Store.
And I've got to say that's impressive, because I had dodged doing games because I thought, too hard. And so let's go forward, because
yeah, sure. So yeah, let's talk about it, because it's all about the programming, and I'll tell you guys how to make sure you get a good one. So yeah, I started out. So the first software I made was it was called The Computer TV, and I didn't make it. Now I don't program any of that kind of stuff. I can install a WordPress site by clicking the button in my cPanel, and that's it. So I'm not a programmer guy. I don't do any custom programming. And but I saw a product on ClickBank right when I first got into this, Ed. Right when I first met you, and I started promoting it as an affiliate. And it was a TV software product. And as an affiliate, man, I was just doing really well with it. And I was like, gosh, that'd be crazy not to try to make this product for myself. And I knew nothing about doing software. And I happened to be on a video game forum board because I'm cool like that and love video games, and was talking to some people about it. And a guy was a programmer, and he said, dude, you got to check out a website called Freelancer. Back then it was getafreelancer.com. And he was like, check it out. It's where the programmers go to get programmers. I'll never forget that. And I was like, all right, well, that's the kind of place I want to go to. And I've got a better solution now I'll tell you guys about in a minute. But this was 5 years ago, and I went there, and it was dead simple. I spent, $550 to get the TV software made, and it was a cool piece of software that lets you just watch TV on your computer. Pretty much was a collection of all like the live streaming internet streams out there. And had them all in one application, so you could stream, TV from around the world. It was sorted by country, and he did all that stuff. Though he did all, I just told him what I wanted, and he was like, "Cool, that'd be like $550. It'll take me 2 weeks." I was like, "Are you serious?" Okay. And I knew I'd make money with it because I was already making money as an affiliate. So long story short, I ended up selling. I pulled all the numbers last week, Ed. It was over $3 million in a year and a half. I did over $1 million net profit within 12 months with it. So it was a cool way to get into internet marketing for sure.
Yeah. It was brilliant. So your very first project was a software project, and which was cool. Now, what made you start to think, well, for your first iPhone application would be to go for a game? Because to me, like, I can understand I can understand a simple server, and we've developed and put into the marketplace, simple apps for, like, following the challenge, and Dan has put in stuff like, I can understand, like, simple step-by-step stuff. What made you think about actually doing a game?
Man, because I'm completely crazy. I wish I had a good answer for that. And one thing I'm about to do today, actually, when we're done with this call, is change this. And instead of having, right now I have it listed in the action, or I'm sorry, I have it listed in puzzle games and music games. I'm about to change it and just make it music games and then entertainment, because games are there's so much competition, man. It's insane. So I would actually
Yes.
recommend people not to go for games to starting out. But I, as you know, Ed, I
Yep.
produce music, and I love making music. And so the whole
Yep.
idea, it was really funny. I was like, I want to make an iPhone app. And I sat there and I was like, what can I do? And I was like, well, I can make music. So maybe I can make a music game. What kind of game could I do? And it just hit me. I was like, man, I'll try Simon Says with music. And here I can actually show you guys what it looks like real quick.
Yep.
And so anyway, I had the idea first, and just went with it. So here, I'll fast forward this. This is the game here, and
No, I
my
want to see
programmer
that Trey
designed the
Smith
character.
screen.
Yeah, and he designed the character. He did all the button designs, the logo, all that kind of stuff. And so as you can see, it plays Simon Says, and I make like techno, house music, electronic music. So I did all the music for it, and all you have to do is repeat the pattern, and then once you repeat it, you go on to the next section, and keep going. So
Nice,
yeah, so to answer your
but I look at
question,
those graphics and I look at this has got to be ridiculously hard. How, so why don't you take us through the process? Because this is what there are three things I want to get people to get out of this webinar. The first thing that I want to get out, and I know that that video is rather choppy. You can go to the actual website and have a look at that. Go to webinars, not exactly the best at showing video, but there are three things that I want everybody listening to this to get out of this. Point one is we're going to show you how to plan and come up with an idea, and most importantly, understand that you don't need to know a skerrick of information about programming. You need to know zero information about programming. That's point one. Point two is that I want you to understand that it doesn't take years or cost a fortune to produce something like this. That's point two. The third point that I want you to get out of this webinar is where Trey and I are actually going to brainstorm live in front of you and just show you how we go about creating an app and how we go through that initial brainstorming process. So first of all, let's address the planning for the app and the way that you did that, Trey. So do you want to take us through how you came up? Like, okay, so you had this idea, Simon Says meets DJ, meets Guitar Hero, and I think if you click off your video there, what's your I think it says your tagline, which is great because it's like a movie. What if Guitar Hero and Simon Says had a baby who was a DJ? I love that. What a great tagline. So let's take us through that.
Sure. So yeah, this is so important, guys. Your job is to come up with a super simple idea, just the framework. If you get a good programmer, then he does all the hard work for you. So don't look at the graphics in the game and think, oh my God, I can't make that. You're not supposed to make that. That's what the programmer does. You just come up with a really simple idea. So I'll show you guys the exact thing that I showed my programmer. And I used Keynote here. And hey, Ed, if I go full screen with this, would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Okay. Cool. So I made this in Keynote. Now all this is I just went to Google Images and typed in iPhone blank white screen or something like that and found this picture.
Yep.
And then I just made like all this is just in Keynote or PowerPoint if you're on a PC. And so I decided to name the game Simple just to start off with, just because it was the first thing that popped in my head. And I recorded a screen cam video while I was showing this little presentation. So I said, hey, look, on level 1, I want 3 buttons to pop up. and then you'll hear some music, and then they'll like
Just
shine.
sorry
And
to
of course,
interrupt,
all
Trey.
that's just done.
Sorry to interrupt, Trey. We're just getting a little black. Can you just try refreshing that? Maybe, yeah, just leave it at that level. Actually, just if you just show us through that.
Okay,
For some
gotcha,
reason,
no
when you
problem.
go to full screen, it's not showing. So, yeah, if you could just show us from the start.
I was a little bit worried about that.
Yeah,
Cool, no
no, that's all
problem.
right.
All right, yeah. So the first, cool. So you can see we're in Keynote here.
Yep.
And so I could write whatever I could write Trey or Ed or anything right here. So I just came up with a silly name for it, simple, which we didn't even stick with. And I decided, look, I'll have like some difficulty levels or some options. Ended up not even going with this stuff. There are no difficulty levels on there or any of that kind of stuff. And it was just a super simple way to show him. So I just did like the little shapes things here. Chose a circle, and then put a little circle here, and gave him a really simple way to look at it. And I said, level 1, I want 3 buttons to pop up, and then level 2 will have more buttons pop up as they progress through the game. It'll get harder with more buttons. He told me that was the worst idea he'd ever heard in his life, that no one would be able to do it when they have this many buttons on the screen. And
Yep.
so you can see this is all I gave him now. I just gave him this and said, hey, look, I want to make a music like Simon Says, or music game like Simon Says. And here's what I'm thinking. And I swear, Ed, it was like 5 days later, he sent me like the Colo character, the game, the buttons lighting up and all that stuff. And I was blown away. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Okay, well, this is great,
Yep. And can I just say, and I just to interject here, because amazingly there are actually people on this call that use PCs rather than Macs. Just joking, just kidding. Sort of. A Keynote is PowerPoint on the Macintosh. So you could do this in PowerPoint. You could do this in Photoshop. You could do this in basically any presentation skills that you do that. I know people use a program called OmniGraph. You could do it in, for goodness sake, you do it on pen and paper and scan it.
You totally could. You could do it on pen and paper, get your old camera out, take pictures of it, and then go to a pharmacy, develop the pictures, and mail them to your programmer, and you could do it. Yeah, so the point is not how you do it. And I'm actually, later on, guys, I'm going to give you this template in Keynote if you have a Mac, or in PowerPoint. I also have a PowerPoint version of it. And in case you do want to do the presentation style. But the point is, yeah, just instead of writing it out, I think the visual representation did make it easier. What it did is it made me get a demo of what he could work on quicker, because especially this guy lives in Russia who I hired, so the language barrier was a little bit tough. We don't talk on the phone. We Skype each other, and the visual representation, any way you can do that.
Now, let me ask you, Trey, where did you find this guy? That's just to take it back a step. What service did you use to locate him?
Yeah, sure. I used Odesk, and here, I'll pull up that website just in case anyone is not familiar with Odesk. It's odesk.com. And I actually found out about this site from Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek. I'd never heard of it before then. And I use them for everything now. So it's like an Elance type site, or guru.com, but they do something a little bit special. And let's see, man, I wish I had my other one pulled up. But I'll tell you what they do. They do screenshots of your person's computer, which is amazing. Did you know that, Ed? Have you used Odesk before?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah,
so
all right.
explain
So
that.
what I
So
did,
they actually take screenshots?
Yeah. So what I did, gosh, if I could remember my password here, I could show you guys. But all right, so first you sign up for an account, obviously. And after you sign up, you want to post your job. And what I do now, I don't go ahead and give them the PowerPoint presentation. I don't even give them that much info. I say, hey, look, I want to make an iPhone game, or if you want to make an Android app. Again, this isn't just about iPhones. We're about to start doing Android as well. And then I was like, look, so this is what I want to do. It's going to be a music type game. If you're interested, let me know. My budget on this is, $1,000, $2,000. I paid $1,700 to have the game that you guys just saw made.
Yeah, let me just hang on. Just hold on a second. Let me just clarify that point, because it's something that people. It's obviously a key thing. So to produce the whole Colo game, in total, $1,700.
$1,700, man, to get the whole thing done. I had offers for under $900, but and I had some as high as $30,000. Ed, $30,000 was one company. And but I went with this guy because he had his past work was really good. I downloaded his games. He had a game called Smash the Aliens that was featured by Apple in the new and noteworthy section and stuff. And I was like, yeah, this is my guy.
Oh, yeah. Now this is interesting because I asked a question. Somebody, Ellen, asked, "How do you find a good and honest programmer?" We've been taken to the cleaners by two who just abandoned us before the job was done. And I think you just hit it on the head right there, right? You've got to hire somebody who's got a track record, and that delivers, and you find it and you do the research and you do the trick to hiring somebody is you just don't take anything at face value, right? You just make sure that you put all that, you've got to follow, you've got to make sure that, their references check out, that their projects check out, that people are happy. Take the time to actually email, phone people. Totally,
yeah, definitely
absolutely
look
crucial.
at their past work and Google them. See if you find anyone else that has used it before. I remember my password, Ed, so I'll show you guys something really cool here in a second.
Oh, excellent.
But yeah, you got to research them a little bit and find a good person. Now, here is why I love Odesk. So I just logged into my account here, and this is a different. I have a few different programmers I'm getting through here right now. So this is not for the iPhone game, but I've already finished that one, so I can't look at the screenshots anymore. But now, tell me how cool is this, man? At 12:01 a.m., you can see they took a screenshot, so I can make sure he wasn't watching The Hangover or pirated movies off of the Pirate Bay or something. All right, and then at 12:14, 14 minutes later, it takes another screenshot, and it keeps on taking screenshots all the time throughout the night, so I know that I'm not getting ripped off. And that's what sold me. As soon as I saw that feature on Odesk, I was like, all right, I'll never use another company again, because again, I have gotten bad. Sorry about that. I have gotten bad programmers before too, but I've now hired 4 people through Odesk and never had an issue because I'm watching them. I'm making sure that they're doing everything right.
Yes. Yep. And it's just such a good, it's such a good thing that you can just check and verify. Now, I've had a couple of questions straight off the bat, and so this is obviously a big issue. I've had about 6 questions on this. Did you have the programmer sign an NDA? How did you protect yourself?
You know what? I've had so many people ask me that too. I did nothing, but and I've never had a programmer sign an NDA before and never had an issue. So, I'll be completely honest with you too. I thought my game idea was neat. I didn't think it was like the best thing in the world. I didn't think it was going to be like the next Angry Birds. I thought it was a good, fun game though. So, maybe if I had something really serious, or if I was investing $100,000 or something crazy. They invested $100,000 in Angry Birds, which is crazy to me. I'm surprised.
What was that, sorry?
But if I was doing something,
Angry Birds, let's repeat that number. What was that?
$100,000 is how much.
Was it over 10 million now, isn't it?
Over 10 million. So, but I don't know why they spent. I don't see how you could spend that much on a game. But anyway, that's a side point. But yeah, so I have not done an NDA. I ended up hiring this guy full time, and asked him if he would get off Odesk, Guru, Elance, all those sites work for me solely, and that's how we're doing a game a month now, because he's just working for me.
And that's, gosh, okay, let's break down that statement because there's so many important things here. First of all, let's clarify a couple of things. First of all, an NDA is a non-disclosure agreement. It's a legal document, which means that if the person, anything that you give the person is, inverted commas, protected, and that they're obviously not allowed to take any of your ideas and implement them or use them yourself. So they're a great idea to have to start out. Ultimately, the NDA questions and all these sort of questions, to me, I think, due diligence protects so much of this, because if you actually don't go for the cheapest person on Odesk, you notice that Trey said he had people offer $900 for this project. He didn't take them because they didn't check out. You don't want to take the cheapest person, never. You don't want to let somebody else try the inexperienced person. Why risk that? It's very, very important.
A great point I forgot. they have ratings. I would have never hired this guy if he didn't have a 5-star rating. If he had a 4-star rating and someone said he was horrible, I wouldn't hire him. So I'm sorry, I totally forgot to make sure that's clear. Yeah, I would not hire someone
Yes.
unless they were 5-star.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we've got some. Look, keep getting your questions in because we'll put this through. But here's something. I just want to close off the NDA, the copying. What if they take my idea issue? Because this is a big issue for people who are looking to outsource. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the only copyright protection that truly exists in the world is you being a superior marketer. Superior marketing is the best copyright protection in the universe.
That's
Because
true.
they can rip off something, but if they can't market it, they're going to rip off. And keep in mind, think of the effort required to rip off an app as opposed to the effort to rip off a website and copy a PDF. We're talking a completely different thing. And of course, with the App Store, you actually have extraordinary protection. Because if somebody goes and throws up your app in the App Store, you say, Apple, hello, this person has stolen my app. You provide them the documentation, and that person is banned from the App Store forever.
Yeah, the Apple
Not a
would
good
be no
situation. So,
issue at all.
oh,
Um,
instantaneously, like it's instantaneous. It is, exterminate with extreme prejudice, because that's the beauty of the curated App Store. Now, unfortunately, in Android, there is a bit more of that because it's an unregulated market, but you've still got protections. Google still will take down people if they rip your app off. But if we leave it off with this and we sign it off with this key point, somebody ripping off an idea, well, you can't copyright an idea. You've just got to go and do it. You've got to ship something. Okay? That's the first step. Let's not worry about any of this till we actually ship something. Second point is that compared to a website or an ebook or a video series that somebody can put on, it's possible to pirate apps, but Joe and Jane Smith don't pirate apps. It's just not even on the radar screen. So you're actually much more protected. So I think we've covered off that point really significantly.
Hey,
So,
I want to say one more thing. I just remembered, Ed, real quick.
sure.
I remember being worried about this too. I totally forgot about it. I think most people, when they first get into software, are worried about that. And I remember asking my cousin, Frank Kern, and I was asking him, hey, Frank, what do you think about this? And he said, man, whenever I get software made, I tell them you can have it too. You can sell it too. Now, this wouldn't obviously work for the App Store. And his point
No.
was being, he literally did, man. He would be like, look, yeah, you do whatever you want with it. Thanks for making it for me, which is crazy. No one
Yes.
who in their right mind would do that. But he did literally because he knew
Yeah.
that he could sell it like crazy and they wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, it all starts with due diligence, and if you do the due diligence and you don't take the cheapest, you don't take somebody without a track record, you don't take somebody without ratings, you pay a little bit above the market to make sure you're getting somebody who's good, you are set. And for goodness sake, well, as you'll see, Trey's already made his money back on this thing, and this you'll be able to promote and continuously do this. So let's keep going on the process. So, what about all the what about the testing and what about the debugging? How did you do that? Because as you say, if your programmer showed you all this code, I imagine he may as well show you Lithuanian.
Man, I thought that would be really difficult. I was super worried about the bugging process because all the software I've had made is usually pretty simple stuff. Even that TV software sounds complicated. It really was not that complicated. And I was truly worried about that, but it was not bad. I mean, really, all you do, he gives you the latest release. You put it on your iPhone. You sit in your bed, and while your wife's watching TV or whatever, you sit there and play the game. And every time you have an
Yeah.
issue, you just write it down on a little notepad. And then at the end of the night, I would send him 5 things, and he'd say, sure, okay. The next morning, they'd all be fixed. And then if when you release it, usually in the comments, someone will say, hey, the screen went blank on me. And I would reply in the comments and say, hey, what version of OS X or what version of the iPhone do you have? And they'll tell me, and we'll get it fixed. So it's really, it was, so that shocked me now. I thought that was going to be a huge ordeal, and that was really nothing to it. And yeah, I mean, and again, having a good programmer, 5-star rated programmer who we got along really good too. And he was excited. I mean, if you get someone who's excited about their work, it's like a contractor building a beautiful $1 million house. I mean, they want it to look beautiful, and
Yeah.
he wanted his
Yep.
work to be good. He takes pride in his work, so it was
Yeah.
easy. He wanted to fix the bugs.
Absolutely. So, and this is the now. Let's go back a couple of steps because I really want to emphasize a few points. Here's the skills that I think you need to have to operate successfully on, on to do an iPhone app or an Android app, or honestly even software. Same absolutely applies for software, and all of these things. And the first thing is you have to be an avid user. In other words, you need to use your mobile phone. You need to know what you want. Because to me, the secret to success in getting an app made is the strength of your vision. Didn't know we'd get into all metaphysical stuff here. It is absolutely the strength of your vision. If you could bring up your keynote, you just did the app thing, and this was the base of what Trey had actually had put up. And so he was able to explain, and what I often do is just as a layout. Did you actually do this? Did you do like a screen flow or use Gene
Yeah,
or
yeah.
use
I
one of
just
the
pulled
screen
out.
captures?
Yeah. Just Camtasia and pulled it out or
Yep.
ScreenFlow. I use ScreenFlow personally, but yeah, just
Yeah, so you
just ran
you
through it.
walked somebody through the screens. Yeah.
That's it.
Now, here's how I start. What I do is I take a pen and paper, and I literally draw out on paper what the app is, and the step through. And the way to do this, the simplest way to do this is when somebody taps on your app, what's the first screen that comes up? What do they see?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want them to do? What do you want to? And you literally step through the process. And your first app design is literally scribbles on a piece of paper, which is actually stepping people through what do you want to see. It doesn't have to, it should not look pretty. It should not look anything. It's just the function, the core. What does this thing do? What does this screen do? What's the job of this particular screen? It's a bit like I've gotten all crazy about screenwriting and writing movies and script writing, and there's incredible sort of a corollary to this as to writing for a movie, because a movie at the end of the day, or a TV show, is just a bunch of scenes, right? And once you've figured out what the scenes are, then you determine what goes on in each scene. Application and software development is exactly the same. You've got a series of screens ultimately that connect together, and you can see it right there on the left-hand side. It'll probably be pretty small, but you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screens. So they're the 6 screens that need to, and you see here's the first one, and you go through, okay, it's simple, is the name of the game, because again, you don't obsess about any details. All we want is we want to know what each screen needs to do. And this one's pretty obvious. You hit the start button, difficulty, how easy or hard it is, and options. They're the 3 things that you want off that page. And so then what do you need to do? Well, if they press start, here's the screen that they go to. And then you describe what happens. It really is, that's the process. And here's the cool thing. Does that require any programming competence at all?
No.
None. Zero.
No, and you know what else,
Ed,
that I think
go.
some people don't think about this, but it doesn't require any art direction. You don't have to know like how to make a game look good. That's what the programmers are for. They're there to do all the hard work. All you have to do is imagine a simple idea, draft it down, and turn it in.
And now, can I throw in something else at that point? My process is slightly different, because I tend to find you lucked out and found somebody who was an awesome designer and programmer. Typically, those skills don't coexist. Typically, what I do is I have a user interface person, a designer, and a programmer. Programmers are used to working with designers, right? And typically it'll be cheaper. Like the cost will be about the same, but I have a person who focuses on the visuals, and then I have a person who focuses on the guts of the program. Any app development, and if you want to have for me, I use a user interface person, so I get because one thing I think you need to do, in internet marketing, we tend to, there's mindset, or there's a thing which is, get it out there. It doesn't matter if it's ugly. Get out it. It's all about the content, etc. I would argue to you, and I'd be interested in your opinion on this, Trey. I
Yeah.
think you have to make an app beautiful.
I totally agree
What's your
with
view
that.
on that?
But Ed, me and you have always been like that. If you look at all the pages for the software system right now, I've got really high design stuff, and I've never liked the ugly stuff sells angle. I've never done that. But yeah, especially with the App Store, you will get buried if you put in an app that doesn't look good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think, in Apple's case, you'd actually have problems getting the app approved if it looked too rubbish.
Yeah.
But you really need to do it because, again, it's not because I want things to be pretty for pretty's sake. It's what the user expects. Okay, there's a certain level of expectation of functionality on the App Store in iPhone apps, and you need to do that. And I must say, and again, people ask, how much for a graphic designer, how much for most iPhone apps, for graphic designers, it's like, money for jam, because they're literally
Yeah.
designing, screens, tiny screens, which are, for what is it, with Retina display, 960 by whatever it is, pixels. So they're literally designing, 15 or 20 screens, which once they've got the concept worked out and they've got the look and feel right, they knock them out. And programmers are very, very good, and they love it because they hate doing design themselves. Most programmers, as I say, Trey lucked out and got somebody who's good at really both. Typically, though, I think you'll find that programmers aren't that good at the graphics. So you just get, go on, Trey.
Yeah, since I was just on Odesk, 2 months ago, looking at people, I'll tell you, it was probably about 20% could do design and program. I lucked out. I got a guy who, I asked him after the game was finished, I said, are you a better programmer or art designer? And he said, I'm a better designer. He said, I can program. He said, but my passion is design, 3D modeling, and all this stuff. So I definitely did luck out on that. There were some other people as well, but I would say about 20% are good at design and programming, and about 80% are not. So you've got to weed through it, But there's nothing wrong with hiring a designer, like you're saying, and a programmer. It's easy to do. You can do it all from Odesk too. It's not like you have to go to 2 different places to do it either.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I've got a good question here from Mark Van. With so many apps, how do you know you're not copying somebody else? Everything's derivative, for goodness sake. There are basically 7 good stories. Every movie is a derivation of one of these 7 stories. That's not what it's about. Because ultimately we're about to transition onto this. Because honestly, Angry Birds has the same. It wasn't the first to have that game mechanic of where you just, sure, nobody had figured out to throw birds at pigs, but that game mechanic was very common. It's about marketing. What will set as I say, the way that you will stand out from the crowd, and I think this is what's important about what Trey's doing and what I do, is you've got to, your job as project manager, I want you to be your project manager and marketer for your app projects. That's your job. And you want to have a user interface person and a programmer. If you can get one that's both, that's awesome. But it's also totally cool to have 2 separate. And they are about putting the guts of the program together. But just sticking an app in the App Store and say, oh, beauty, there it is. If Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. That is dumb. That is the big mistake. And I know Trey and I have talked about this in the past. You see developers crying and whinging, oh, I'm not displayed in the App Store, I'm not featured this week. If any of those things happen to you, that is a big payday and it's golden and it's awesome. But if that's what you're relying on to make money with your app, you are a fool. And again, we've talked about games quite a bit here, but please keep in mind when we go into showing you how we would do it, you will see that you can apply this to anything. So let's go through. So you went through the design of the game. Lots of backwards and forwards. How long did the tweaks backwards and forwards go? It took you about what, 2 months?
2 months from beginning to finish. And I'll say this: it will always take twice as long as they tell you. It was supposed to take 30 days, and I thought that was insane that he thought he could do it in 30 days, but I wasn't going to tell him he could not. And he was sick for a week,
Yeah.
legitimately, I believe. And things came up, more bugs than you would, think, and all that kind of stuff, just common stuff. But I mean, I've developed over, 10, 15 different pieces of software over the last few years, and every single one of them, if they say it's going to take 2 days, it takes 4 days. If they say it takes a week, it takes 2 weeks. So go ahead and plan. It's going to take about twice as long as they say.
Very good. So let's keep going with these. So the next step is obviously submission to the App Store. Now, there's a huge amount of myth and drama about the App Store. The first thing that people need to know, and why don't you describe the process? So you yourself, even though you're not a programmer, you have no license as a programmer, did you pay your 90 odd bucks to become a App Store developer?
I did, and I've got the best advice, Ed, in the world about submitting your app. Yeah, I paid the $97 to be a programmer. I also went ahead and did it for the Mac App Store because I think the next piece of software we're going to make is going to be like Visual Hub. It's going to be a piece of software that can convert a video format, and so I'm going to try that out for the Mac App Store. Yeah, man. So that's open source.
So that is brilliant.
Yeah, I got all the code is open source, so he can see how it was done. Well, of course, now there's a couple thousand people are going to probably do it too. But
yeah, I was going to. But again, this illustrates an awesome point. That is a brilliant idea, but it's about execution and shipping, and even after all that, it's about the marketing. And if you don't have your market, if you can't market your app, if you don't have the chops to market your app, the best, and I've said this about 20 times over the last week, and it really annoys people, but it's so true. The best practitioners, the best writers, the most creative people in the world, you'd think they should be the richest in their particular things, but no, they will get towed every single time by the best marketer.
That's true.
There are so many times when the best has not even come close to making as much money as the one that's okay, but is the best marketed. You have to be the best marketer. But let's go back to the App Store process, then we can actually talk about the actual marketing.
Yeah, so I went ahead and signed up with them, spent the money. I think it was $100 a year, and money well spent for sure. But when you submit your app, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. Submitting your app, you have to do it from your computer. I thought it would be easy. To me, because I'm not very good with this kind of stuff, it was extremely hard to do. So what I did is I found a website. Actually, I did. My programmer did, called YouGoo.com. Have you heard of this before, Ed?
I have never heard of this in my life. I'm fascinated to see what it is.
Man. This is a chat client, an IM, instant message client, that does web conferencing just like what we're doing right now. It's a go-to webinar just for one-on-one people. And what I do is I'll open up my computer, log into YouGoo, my programmer will access my computer, I'll walk away, and he puts it on the App Store. So I recommend anyone who does this to submit your app and just let your programmer know, no, look, I want you to submit the app too. That way you don't have to do anything. So.
Yeah, so now let's explain it. I actually had a question about this from a mentoree the other day. So you basically you sit there, you're in front of your computer, because this sounds weird to people, but you literally have to submit the app from the computer that you are a registered developer in, and it's very smart because Apple wants to protect, right? It wants to make sure it knows exactly where the software is coming from. It's great.
Yes, and never, ever, ever, never let them submit it for you, because there's something in the code where they would kind of own rights to stuff. You have to submit it from your computer for sure.
There you go. So what you basically do is you sit there and you watch the guy do the submission for you.
Bingo.
Is that so? That's how you do it. And I hope you're listening, Christopher Spence, because I think that's a brilliant way to do it. We've always submitted our apps ourselves because we, particularly Dan, of course, knows exactly how to do it. But so that's the secure way to do it. So you actually literally watch your developer do the submission for you in front of your face, because you do, great. That is a great.
Well, to be totally honest,
solution.
What I did is opened the computer and then played Call of Duty while it was in my lap and glanced down every once in a while.
Dear. Somebody's asking, and it's interesting and a great question. What about Facebook apps? Identical process. And here's what I'm so excited about what you're doing, Trey, with the software system is please, iPhone app, software, Mac App Store, Android tablets, Facebook, all of these opportunities are enormous. And all of them, the opportunities are enormous, and most importantly, the process is identical. It's just the guts in the middle. And so what you want is a developer who is experienced at doing a Facebook app. You want a developer that's experienced at doing a Mac app. You want a developer that's experienced at doing this. Now, before we just keep going on that submission process, and that was a $1 million tip, just what you described there. The other thing for people to understand about this, and I've forgotten my point. What an idiot. I had a really good point. It'll come into my head in a second. I can't believe that. Somebody said something about Lithuania, and it's totally throwing me off. But
gotcha.
Okay, so let's keep going through the process. Now, if we've submitted how long did the App Store, did you get a bounce back or two? Did they say you had to fix some stuff?
No issues at all. Zero issues, and I was worried about that. Zero issues, and it only took 4 business days. So if you do it over the weekend, you got a couple extra days there. But it only took 4 business days, and I've submitted updates now 2 different times. Every time it's just 4 business days. So they've really got it together now.
Yeah, absolutely. It really, again, there was a lot of heat and light about App Store rejections and so on. Most of those App Store rejections are because people are trying to do something which you're not meant to do.
Most of them are doing shady business.
Yeah, exactly. So, so it's that is somebody asked a great question from Warren Hales. Trey, did this 1,700 cover unlimited bug fixes? How do you handle the feature changes you wanted and ongoing support?
Man, now this is a great question. I have never had issues with that. You would think that would come up. Bug fixes is, as you probably know, Ed, that's just a known. Like any program in the world knows, they have to fix bugs. There's no question about that. It doesn't matter if a year later they got to fix bugs. And a feature add-on is a tricky one. With the iPhone game, I ended up tipping the guy $200. I didn't have to. I did that just because I liked the guy. And then I did add, he made a whole entire free version. He's added all kinds of stuff for me, man. But I don't, but I never paid him for it. But I did tip him $200 last week just to help the guy out because I like it. But so to answer your question, small feature requests, you won't have to pay more, but you will. I mean, if you wanted to add another 10 levels to your game or something like that, then you would just, what I always do, Ed, I ask them, and when I added features on my Windows apps, I would say, how much more to add this? And 9 times out of 10, they come back with a figure much less than I was going to offer them, because they're typically programmers are not good business people. So.
Absolutely. And for your first projects, keep it simple, people. Keep it really, 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 really simple. So, don't, if you've never ever developed a piece or had a piece of software developed, keep it simple. And Trey, you of course get a copy of the source code because they submit it through your computer, right? So
when they submit it through your computer, you have everything. It comes from your computer to the App Store, so you always have the latest version on your computer.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I do want to cover off some marketing. So let's go to the next step, Trey. So what happened? You spend $1,700. You submit it to the App Store. Cool. It's live. What happened?
First day did 523 sales, which is phenomenal. Hardly ever happens on a paid app. And the reason is I did a marketing campaign with my internet marketing list. And the point of this is, I know not everyone's going to have an internet marketing list. I don't think you guys should all do internet marketing list campaigns. But let's say you were let's say you were in a niche business already about dog training, and you did a dog training iPhone app, then I think it would be a great idea to do some kind of promotion to your list explaining that the app is out there or whatever. So I didn't just put it out there, cross my fingers, and and hold my eyes closed really tight and pray that I've made some sales. I really worked my butt off to try to make sure. And I actually did a few other
Yeah,
things too. I'll
if
show
you
you
launch it
guys.
into a vacuum, that's crazy. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
here's a key
So
point,
yeah,
everybody. Pens and paper out about marketing for the App Store. What I bang into people for years, I've banged into people the four magnificent parts of the marketing symphony: market research, traffic, conversion, and the fourth one, and very much the fourth and last, is product. If you just think you've got a great app idea and that's it, and you've got no market, look, you may hit Angry Birds, you may hit a home run. God bless you. But seriously, I don't like those odds. I like slam dunks. And the way you have a slam dunk is you've already got a market, right? You already have a market and you build something for your niche, right? And so you've got a ready-made market when you're there with your market leadership, and that's the smart way to do this. You know, you've got a market there. You've got your niche, and every niche on the planet, and we're running out of time, but I want to just quickly give an example of this before we go. But every market on the planet needs a mobile app. You know, everything needs some sort of app that you can do. And just because people are accessing the internet more from their phones, you know, and that trend is not going to change. So let's keep going here, mate. So sales and trends. So you marketed initially to your list.
yeah, marketed to my list and had a little promotion. Now, here's the thing: once you have any kind of app that's successful in the App Store, you market to your app, right? So let's say right now I have like 2,500 people have downloaded this app, and that means if I come up with a Colo Jump, which is another game we're working on right now, then I will be able to message pretty much just like a text message, all doing an update rather, and message all those people and say, hey, look, go check out my new game. So once you get it going, once the snowball starts going, then it's easy to make your next app a hit. As soon as you get that first one, from there on out, it's easy. And I know guys doing $10,000 per day right now with apps, and they have 20 apps out. They roll one out, and bam, it gets in the top 100 almost every time, because all they have to do is advertise to their other app people. So, but you know, obviously, you guys starting out just like me have some kind of promotion. And if you don't have a list, that's okay. Let me show you something else here. And you can see here, if you type Colo's Journey into Google, there's 3,130,000 results. The reason is this: I made the website that you guys saw earlier, and then I went to Google and I typed in iPhone app review, iPhone app blog, iPhone game review, iPhone game blog, iPad, anything you can think of. And I just started contacting, a ton of people. I just spent a good 2 hours straight emailing. Hey, got a new game coming out. Old school, door to door, knocking and saying, hey, look, check this out. And I got, I didn't get reviews from Touch Arcade, the biggest guys, any of that kind of stuff. But I did get a lot of people who would put it in their list of apps or that kind of stuff, and got me a little bit of traction.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and this is a key point that you guys need to really get out of this, because we want this to be more than a crapshoot or a home run or a strike gold situation. And the way you do that is you have your market first, and you you build that market, and you focus on building that market, and you create an app for that market. That's why it's a great platform for that. I really want to, Trey, let's do this before we finish up, because I really wanted to do this.
Sure.
Because we've been talking games.
Gotcha.
And I wanted to talk about business applications, and often these are a heck of a lot easier than games. I mean, you went for the golden temple, right? You went straight to games, and games, honestly, hardest thing to start out. Now, I had an idea for a piece of software. I'm doing some various bits of training. I read the Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Body. Okay. And a lot of the stuff which is an awesome book, by the way. And a lot of his stuff is about interval training. So it's you have to do X task for X period of time. So you might have to run for 1 minute and then walk for 3 minutes. So that's, and there are apps out there in the Couch to 5K is an example of an amazing app that looks after that side of things. But then I started thinking, I'm also doing I'm doing a GOSCU training at the moment, which means you have to do certain exercises for certain periods of time. So my idea for an app is to have something which is a universal time, so you can build in stages, right, and set time limits, and then have your phone give you an alert for each of these apps. So based on what I've described, how would we do that?
All right, so the name of the app would be like exercise timer. I mean, just a real simple name, something like that.
Yeah, let's call it. And again, never obsess about the name at this point because the name will become apparent. Let's call it time step. It's not bad.
Time step or step?
Time step. P with a P.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we got time step, and then we would have something here at the bottom that would say tap to start.
Yep. So and they would either have, and on that front page they would typically, if they already had a program that they'd already installed, like a menu, if you will, then they'll already have that there. So if you give them the option to go to an existing, create a new time step, or go to an existing one.
Gotcha. Look at that right there, Ed.
So you're overachieving at this point.
All right, so they would tap to start, and then
rather than tap to start, we want do we want to create a new time step or go to an existing time step?
Okay.
This is a good idea.
Yeah, this is a great idea.
Go off and copy this, people.
All right. All right, so then we would have on the second one, let's say this would be the create new. So we would just roll up here, type create new, and then we'd have, like, I guess probably name, right?
And yep. And then we'd have two fields. We'd have one which said the name of the activity, so what the actual time step is, and then the time.
Okay, cool.
And then we'd want two buttons. We'd want a finished, or we want add a new time step.
On the same page.
Yeah, I think we would have. Yep.
Cool. All right, so let me get a better fill-in color here. So we'll have two buttons.
You just copied and pasted those two buttons, and add new. So finished.
We'll just do finish.
Or add next step. Yeah.
Like that?
Cool. Yep. And so while we're doing this, basically what you're thinking then, okay, that screen, big gats, if we go all biblical, two screens. What happens when they press finish? And what happens when they hit next? For finish, I think they should go back to if they go to finish, they should go to the menus, so that this will have a list of all the different time steps that we've created.
Cool. So you could put finish screen up here, and then when you're recording your screen cam, you say, all right, now this is the finish screen, something like that. And all right, cool. So what would be on here?
Exactly. Okay, so finish script would be just a list of all the different activities. So I'd have one which was a GOSCU. I'd have another one which is Couch to 5K, which I've set up, and it would be and then so you just select. So activity 1, activity 2, and you pick one of those.
Gotcha. Cool. So now we got to also do the next screen, right?
Yep. And that would be exactly the same as the first screen.
Oh, is this one here?
Yep.
Or this one?
So create new, but it would be, instead of create new, it would be add extra. Extra.
Okay, gotcha. So we'll just copy that, and then, oops. And then,
And there are a million billion different tools that you can do this with. Like there are actual apps that you can create this stuff. There are wireframe applications. There are dozens of different applications that you can do this. I wanted to prove today, though, that it is not about what you use. It's not about the tool set. It's not about having any understanding of programming, of structure, of anything. It's about having a great idea, and most importantly, having a market in which to put that idea into. So now, Trey, let's finish this off. First of all, how did you do with so after your launch day, how did you do?
all right, cool. So I did 543 sales or whatever the first day. Well, I did all these stats right here you're looking at yesterday, and it's been on the market for 18 days, and I sold 2,109 units at 99 cents a piece. That's total sales number of $2,087. And Apple takes a 30% cut, so that means I've made $1,460. The cool thing is $1,460. The cool thing is it averages 115 in sales per day right now, which is pretty awesome. So that means I should be profitable by the end of next week. And truthfully, looking at stats today, I think it'll be quicker than that. Right now, it's looking like I'll be profitable by Wednesday.
Well, bluntly, I'd mailed out about it. I was trapped in Mexico when this launched, because as soon as I promote it, I reckon that'll be worth an extra couple of thousand in sales. So because I've got a list of people who are interested in iPhone stuff.
Gotcha. Cool.
And
yeah.
So, the rules of marketing don't change because this is an app, right? This is the cool thing for everybody listening to this. This is such a minor extension of the skill sets that all of you who are listening to this, most of you have been through the challenge. Most of you have, done things and gone through the challenge and had a look at all of this. So this is just for an extra extension of your skill set. You open up an enormous opportunity, an enormous revenue opportunity. And so, this is a very cool thing. So let's keep going. So
one thing I'd
did
like
those
to
game
add,
sales.
Yeah, so it has the potential of realistically, I'm not blowing these numbers up, but being a $40,000 per year business. I talked to one guy, and he said by adding more marketing to it, and I'll show you guys what I'm about to do next, so it's not some obscure reference, but he said by adding more marketing, he thinks I could get it up to 100,000, and so we'll see. We'll see next year. But here's what I'm doing next, and I think this is going to help out sales more than anything else, and I purposefully did not do this at first. All right, so I released the paid app, the paid version here. This is the icon for it. And I just submitted the free version of the app. And this is so cool. So free apps get 10 times the download of paid apps. And I wanted to go ahead and get some sales off the paid app if there was any kind of interest, especially with me doing marketing promotions. I wanted to go ahead and get the sales out of the paid app and not have a free app out there at first. And my goal plan was about 2 weeks later to drop the free app, which I'm right on time, about 2 days late on. And so the free app is just like the paid app, but you can only play 3 levels instead of 9. When they try to play any of the other levels, it upgrades to the paid app, but every time it upgrades, it gives me a sell, right? So it actually boosts up my rankings for that paid app. So I'm about to launch that out, and it's really cool. I never thought of it this way until I met some friends of mine now who are in this business. But your free app is a traffic source. It's just like having a little mini Google traffic source driving traffic to your paid app. And that's really, that's amazing to me. If you have 30 free apps out there, they're all little mini traffic sources driving traffic to your paid apps. And I thought that was really cool. So I'm working on that next. And the thing here, Ed, is I'm not stopping my marketing machine. Not only do most people not doing marketing, most of them, when they do it the first week of the release and stop. Here I am on my 3rd week, just now rolling out the 3rd phase, and we got more coming after this. So it's important to keep a steady pace with it.
Exactly. All right. So look, we are really running out of time, and I really appreciate this. Now, Trey, can you explain to people, if we pop up that final slide there, if you guys want a video, Trey's done an amazing video of this whole process, and if you guys head to eddale.iphone.com, which, yes, is an affiliate link should you choose to buy what Trey's about to tell you about. I will get that. But here's what I want to do. One of the things that I think people need with this is support. So I'm going to actually be running a weekly support group for people who end up buying the software system, where I'll take any questions. I love this stuff. The thing that I'm most passionate about is mobile apps, because I think this stuff is absolutely huge. So do you want to explain what you're doing with the software system?
Yeah,
Trey?
sure. And there's nothing even to buy right now, guys. So just go check it out,
No,
the video, and see
nothing
what
to
you
buy.
think. Yeah, the
Just
cart
have the
opens
classics.
next week, and what I'm doing is selling a system next week on Thursday called the software system. So I've as you guys know, I've sold a few $1 million worth of software, and Ed, I'm gonna go with you on this. I'm more excited about the App Store stuff than anything else, and that's
Yeah.
if I ever do a 2.0 of this system years down the road or whatever, it'll most likely be solely about app stuff. I really like it. But anyway, so when you go check out that video, you can also download that PowerPoint slide you were looking at, the exact same one with the really simple version of the Cola's Journey game, and
Oh,
see a
cool. So you
video.
provide that to people now.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I got a keynote and a PowerPoint version they can go download if they want, and then you can see a video of me explaining more about the process. I go into the Odesk accounts and all that good stuff too, so you could check that out. But yeah, so next week I'm going to release this system. I'm super stoked on it. It's going to be a 5-week coaching course. It's like some serious business. It's a big course, and I just go step by step. I've mentioned to you guys how right here I'm doing a free version of the app. And I've got about 10 different things like that I'm planning on rolling out through the years, and stuff that I don't hear anyone talking about, like doing JV offers. I got 100 sales the other day, Ed, from doing a JV deal in the App Store. So I haven't even heard of anyone doing this stuff. And I want to share it with you guys. It'll be really cool. So, but regardless, go check out the video and get those PowerPoint presentations. And if you ever want to make your app, it'll
And
make
with
it a
a
lot
bit of,
easier.
if the recording gods are with us, we hopefully have recorded all of this so you can capture Trey and my ADD. And I hope you got there are 3 core messages that I want you to get out of this today. The first is that you need no programming skills at all. You just need to be able to use a pen and paper, and somebody suggested in the questions, LiveScribe. Boy, if you want to go totally geek out, what a great idea. But a pen and paper is all you need, and a vision for an idea for an app, and you literally scribble it out just like we showed you in front of the screen. You can just use a pen and paper and scribble it and scratch it out. The trick is you have to have a strong vision for what you want the app to do, and if you do that, you're going to have no trouble with getting somebody to outsource to do that. The second point is it's not expensive. Trey spent, I think, was it $1,500 or $1,700?
$1,700.
$1,700 all up, and that was because it was a game, okay, with graphics and various, they had to figure out all the the physics of it, etc., etc. If you're doing like the app that I think is a really good app idea. In fact, I think I'll be I've got a mentoring seminar right after this, but I think after that I'm going to write it up. An app like that would be a couple of $100s. In the old days, back in 2008, 2009, there was a dearth of programmers who could use the programming languages that's required for the iPhone, iPad, iOS operating systems. Now, pretty much every kid that's going to college is learning that particular language. So it's not hard to find good people to program your stuff. You guys have already benefited the hump of where price app costs go through the roof because there's a shortage of programmers. There is now plenty of people who want to do this. So it's not expensive to do. And the third thing I want you guys to understand, and it's great because you've all come from marketing background and wanting to learn about marketing, is it's crucial that you do not forget everything that I've ever taught you, that it's not product first, it's market first. Runners, knitters, macrame, underwater kickboxing. You start there and you say, what does that market want? You build traffic in that market. You build conversion in that market. You become a market leader in that market. And you deliver the app. Okay, and then you'll have something that's successful. If you take a field of dreams, if you build it, they will come. You might luck out, but to me, that's not a business. And I think what's exciting about the software system that Trey is putting together, which is not available to buy at the moment, you can't buy it anyway. But if should you choose, I think the exciting things, the stuff that I've seen, is it takes you through that entire process in a lot of detail. And finally, if you do end up choosing to buy and you end up buying through my link, we're going to have weekly coaching sessions, and I'll email you guys out and give you extra detail on this. That we'll do literally weekly coaching sessions on this because I love this stuff more than anything. And it's just a pleasure to do. So, Trey, look, thank you very much. We have gone over time, but I really, really appreciate that. And please, people, go and download the video where he's just in awesome production values, I might say, explain the whole process. So go and have a look at eddale.iphone.com. If we've got a recording, I will email you guys out about the recording so that you guys can have a listen to that. Trey, thanks very much.
All right, awesome. Yeah, that was a great webinar, man. I really enjoyed this, and thank you guys for being on the call.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it.
All right, see you later.
See you, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye.